Greetings and salutations. This is Abdelhadi with The Bitter Truth, where we may not have all the answers, but we're going to have an awful lot of questions. You can also become a bitter pill at patreon.com/The Bitter Truth, and we're available on all the usual sources to listen to these kind of things: Podcast Addict, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that being said, a little housekeeping out of the way, we have with us today, little off the beaten path, we are going to discuss the Nomadic Comedian with the beautiful, talented, smart, funny, pet owner, RV roaming diva about town, the Doris Day of comedy. Aubree Sweeney is with us today. Aubree, are you there?
I'm here. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on. I was really stoked that you agreed to come on the show. So let's talk a little bit, because you got a couple things going on that are different. I want to talk about comedy and what you've been doing, but a little while ago, a couple of years now, right? You just packed everything up and just got on the road in your RV. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
That's right. Yeah, I lived in Burbank for about 6 years, which is beautiful. Burbank's a beautiful, wonderful place to live, but I wanted to do the road, and I was looking at different ways to do it, and kind of started just flying everywhere to do shows, and it was, I don't know, it was not, stressful isn't the right word. It just wasn't really that enjoyable, because
right.
it was like I'm flying, and my dog's in daycare, and I'm never at my apartment, and I'm paying for this thing that I'm not using. So yeah, I grew up camping, being from Nebraska, and yeah, I got rid of a bunch of stuff. I bought a motorhome, little nice 22 foot little guy, and yeah, I'm on the road. I get to, now when I go on a tour, I get to experience the places that I'm going. Like coming up, I'll actually be where you are. I'll be in Texas for a bit. But yeah, so I get to go. I get to do shows. I get to hang out for a week or 2 weeks or however long I want to, and
right.
and see places and do the tourist stuff, and hopefully talk to somebody who's local and do like a non-tourist thing, and then kind of, I don't know, feel like part of the community that I've never been part of.
And so do you tow a car behind you when you go, or you just?
I do.
Yeah, okay.
I do a little Chevy Sonic, which has become my dream car. I love this car so much. It gets great gas mileage, and I don't know. I feel like I could probably in a jam pick it up myself. It's just this little. I've never driven a little car, so it's cool.
So beyond the practicality of it, I mean, like, because flying and touring and renting cars obviously is expensive, and it cuts into your profit. Was there some event that made you say, screw it, I'm getting an RV, I'm going on the road? Was it like a boyfriend, or you just got tired of the cost of living in LA? What made you just say, screw it, I'm getting an RV?
It was honestly really just I felt stuck with my apartment. I mean, it wasn't really like a financial thing or anything. It was just suddenly my apartment felt like it just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and I was paying for this thing that I didn't, either I wasn't there, or when I was there, I was like itching to get back into the world and explore.
Right.
So, I mean, it really was more like no like big moment, just like this like of like I miss traveling. I'm not getting, I don't, yeah. And so, yeah, I just was like, I'm just gonna, I don't know. That's kind of who I am, though, because when I was in college in Arizona, I got an English literature degree, and I was getting ready to graduate, and I was like totally planning on being a teacher. And then one day I decided, you know what? I'm moving to California. I'm going to be a screenwriter. So I think it just took me a very long time to figure out, that comedy and travel were the two things that I needed to actually make me feel like I was living my best life.
Nice.
Yeah.
So obviously this opened up more opportunities, and so and let's talk about comedy in LA compared to comedy, because you're performing a lot in the Midwest too. Like, you obviously. I know you're from Nebraska. You have family in Nebraska, but you're not just performing in Nebraska. You're performing in Chicago. You're in Missouri. What kind of? How many states are you performing in now?
Well, how many states am I performing in?
Yeah, because like I'll see your Facebook stuff or your Instagram stuff, and it's like you're all over the Midwest. I mean, I'll see you in California when you go to California, and you'll hit the Flappers and the clubs out there. But then I'll see you in the Midwest, and you're all over the Midwest.
I am all over. So here's the thing. Okay, so I've had this motorhome. It was a year in October. So my goal, and there is no time stipulation on this in any way whatsoever, because that kind of defeats the purpose of enjoying the trip. But I want to basically take this motorhome to all of like the mainland 48 states. And so RV perform. So I've been slowly but surely kind of picking them off. So, I mean, I want to say I'm at about, I think I'm like 20% of the map so far. And then by September, because I'm kind of going up for my tour in September, like South Dakota, North Dakota, and then over, and then back down the coast. So, I mean, I think by the end of that, I'm gonna be close to like the 30%. So that's kind of become a goal. I want to perform everywhere in the U.S. That I can take the motorhome to, and then after that, I'd like to spend a couple of years just exploring and performing in Canada.
Nice.
Yeah. So it'll take time, and again, no rush on that goal, because it's about enjoying it.
Right.
So so I'm kind of performing everywhere, and the cool thing about it is I get to do, like, I end up performing at a lot of music venues, because it kind of ends up, I'm like, wow, I really wanted to go to Arkansas, and where I was going to be, which just made sense with not adding a bunch of driving. I wanted to do some sightseeing in Bentonville, and it's like, there's not really, like, here's a campground, and this is going to work out really good. There's a music venue, and it's a guitar gallery. I'm like, this is going to be so cool. So you get that. And that's one of the things I really like about being on the road is in California, you're doing a lot. It's a lot of clubs, and it's like clubs and bars. I feel like is the places that we go out here. And, so it's nice to, I don't know. I really like doing comedy shows in places that aren't actually comedy venues. Is that weird? Do you like that?
Well, when I was doing comedy, I kind of didn't care. The only thing I didn't, I mean, I didn't care as long as if I had a mic and went up, I didn't care. But I learned a lesson, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years in. A buddy of mine got me a show with this buddy of his who wrote for Everybody Loves Chris. And so he was doing this. Oh, nice. He was in this open mic. Great show. And this guy's a smart fucking guy. And he did this weird little open mic out in Monrovia, but he booked a show at the same bar, and it was literally a bar with pool tables and all this. And so, I had this observational comedy, the long joke for comedy club stuff. So I go in. Now I'm in this bar, I'm doing like 10, 15 minutes in this bar. And, there's this, and not to besmirch anybody, but they actually were just lesbians playing pool. And then they were getting drunker, and, a couple of them got in a fight over this other chick. And one was kind of a bigger girl, and she started shoving the other girl and became sort of a source of, attention. And then, you had clanging plates and just all this crap was going on. And I died. Yeah. I died a murderous death. And then later, this guy was like, hey, listen, you know what your problem is? I go, yeah, tell me, because I sucked. He goes, well, you need 2 sets, man. He goes, you got the comedy club set, I can tell, but you need, like, there was another guy there that was punchy, like a total one-liner, quick, set him up 30-second, jokes, and it was his bar set. And because you only have their attention for a couple seconds a pop, you don't have time to explain the long story and, beginning, middle, end. And that kind of changed my life, because then I was like, oh, okay, all right, I get it now, But mostly,
no, definitely,
okay.
Oh no, I was going to say, like, a lot of the time I feel, I don't know, like corporate events and bars, like different things like that. I end up falling back on because I went to UCB ages ago, so I end up falling back on that improv thing where it's like, okay, they do not want to hear this 5-minute story that I think is hilarious about my cat tonight, and then I'll just talk, basically just, I mean, I've been known to improv a whole 60-minute set, and it's fun, and it's cool too, because like having 2 sets or going out there and going, you know what, scratch that, I'm not going to do the set that I planned. It's very freeing, because it's a challenge, but then it's also like, whoa, that I did that.
Well, and that's
I didn't say a single thing.
But that's cool, because but see, here, this thing, but you've done the homework. You have a set. So you like the one thing when I started really noticing that I could do this was where I could just riff on an existing joke and go in another direction. And just because you're feeling the crowd and you're like, and all of a sudden you wrote a whole nother joke. And you're going, that riff was cool, but shit, let's make this a whole nother deal. But that ability, the last couple 3 years I was doing it in LA, I wasn't even going to open mics anymore. Like, you know how you go to open mics to like practice a new joke kind of a thing. It's like, nah, fuck it. I'll just go ahead and stick the new joke in the middle. And if it dies, I'll go to what works. Right. And, you know, but that's a benefit of having an improv background too, is that, you know, you are already ready to do that. Like it kind of dawned on me, but you know, you having that background is pretty handy.
Oh yeah, it's definitely saved me from a few jams.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not just with comedy.
Well, hey, listen. I was going to say, well, okay. Let me back up a second. You know, because the inquiring minds want to know on the bitter truth. So, like, you're you know, and I'm hitting on you because you're on the radio in California. So, like you're in an RV. You're a pretty girl in an RV. I mean, this is like a TV movie waiting to happen. Like, what kind of shit do you go through?
Knock on wood right now.
Excuse me?
No TV movies. I said no TV movies unless they're a comedy.
Well, they're not going to be doing it. They're not going to be doing a movie out of this. So it's going to be probably an O Network thing. I'm sorry to tell you, but no. But like, so you do your RV and you park into these different places, and you know, obviously at this point you've got several spots that you like. I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah, yep.
So like in California, you're out in Newport Beach.
I am. I love Orange County. The commute is tough. For doing shows down in Los Angeles or up. I always do that up in LA. Rather, right. I am down from LA. Geography, man. But yeah, the commute is pretty tough. But I wanted to do. I wanted to do just 6 months with the beach, and I've loved it.
Yeah.
So next year I'll go back to splitting it. So I'll be out here for a couple months, and then down. There's quite a few campgrounds that are closer, that are just as beautiful. But I mean, like I mentioned before, I lived in Burbank for 6 years. I think I went to the beach once, and
really?
I love the beach. Yeah, I would just be like, oh, I got all this work to do. Blah blah blah. That's on my, and yeah. So I just wasn't. I don't know. Yeah. So. It's been fun. I like it. I like living on the beach. I learned to surf, so
well, look at you.
Cool. I'm cool. I felt like I got cool points like immediately when I was like, "Yeah, I took a surf lesson today." That's very LA, by the way. Which is yes.
I took surf lessons, man. It was pretty bitchin'. You know.
I have trouble remembering to put my shoes on. Yeah, so I mean, I've fully transitioned into I'm living on the beach. Like I don't want to wear shoes. I don't want to I'm always like have sand on me. Right. The dog usually has a life jacket on. Like that's how we live. Funny.
Well, okay, so I mean, I got a little sidetracked, but do you get creepers? I mean, what the hell? Like you're a single girl with a dog in an RV. I mean, and your dog is a formidable animal because I've seen pictures of him. But Paco, Paco's a beast. But I mean, have you had any weirdness with all this? I mean,
I mean, there's been a couple times, but I mean, I'm planning my trips ahead of time. So like I have a place where I'm going. I mean, it's not like I'm not, camping in a tent in the middle of the desert, or anything like that. I mean, unless I planned that and then I have the, appropriate things to deal with those, rattlesnake panhandlers, but yeah, to be totally honest with you, I haven't really dealt with any creepy things because of sexism, people assume that there's a husband in here. So
okay.
I have rarely had a conversation with a person when I'm like, oh, you do like the small talk when you run into people, and I'll say, oh, I travel, I'm traveling for work, and then often, not all the time, but I'd say 50 to 65% of the time, the follow-up question from that person is, what does your husband do? Like thinking that I'm traveling because of him.
Right.
So so it's always, it's funny. And then you're like, well, it's actually me. I travel for work. And I lost the husband apparently somewhere along the road because I haven't seen him ever. I didn't know he existed. But yeah, so I'll run into that a lot. But I mean, I think that safety, just in general, for men and women, it really, I mean, you never know. I mean, tragedies happen all the time. With,
Sure.
I mean, there's nothing you can do. You can't prepare for that. I mean, I think even if someone hasn't been struck by a tragedy, they've at least seen an episode of Law and Order. You know, so there's just only so much that you can do to keep yourself safe. But I mean, I'll be careful about it. And I was never really a reading reviews person. And I rely on those immensely. You know, like I was looking, I've got a show coming up in the Palm Springs area, and I was trying to find a campground. Actually, a few shows in the Palm Springs area. And the first place that I went to, it was like, whoa, this is great. This is very, very inexpensive. This will be awesome. And then I read the reviews, and it was like, SWAT was here, SWAT was here, SWAT was here, SWAT was here. And there's like numerous different dates. And I was like, yep, nope, I'm going to stay in an RV resort for this trip. You know?
No joke.
And, yeah. So I feel like I've been, I don't have any stories that are worthy of a Lifetime movie yet when it comes to the traveling lifestyle. You know, but I mean, I think it really comes down to, you know, I mean, I guess, you know, at one time I was too tired to keep going. And so I wasn't going to make my destination. So I had stopped at a rest stop, and it was pitch black. And I mean, that's one of the things traveling with pets. The dog's got to walk. And it was just, you know, it was, I think in like the light of day, it wouldn't have been as creepy
Sure.
as it was, but I'm getting out of the motorhome, and out of nowhere, like this guy starts talking to me, and then I just did a shout back inside. I was like, make your own sandwich. I'll be back. This dog isn't going to take himself for a walk.
Good.
And then, yeah. And I mean, and that was that. And then I was left alone. I mean, I never really traveled cash either. So that's kind of,
Right.
That'll send somebody away. Like, oh, sorry.
Right.
Out of luck.
You carry a piece?
Yeah. I don't tell anybody.
It's out there now. Pretty blonde girl in an RV, folks. She's unarmed.
Yeah, no, but I do have, and I highly will recommend these to anyone who is walking in the dark or anything like that. It's a personal alarm. They go on your keychain.
Okay.
You can get them. There's tons of different brands. They have them on Amazon. But yeah, it's great if you just basically pull this thing, and it is the most abrasive, loudest, disgusting alarm sound that I have ever heard in my life. Because I tested it I've never had to use it like in a real life situation, but amazing. And I mean, that's one of those things I feel like when we were growing up, it was always like, just basically just start screaming at the top of your lungs if somebody like approaches you and you're scared. I'm like,
Sure.
This can scream a lot louder than I can.
Yeah. No, I
highly recommend the personal alarm.
And that piece of advice is for real. I mean, about, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, when I was still living in LA, I was in Pasadena pretty much my adult life. I was there for 30 years before I came into Austin. And one day I was, when Borders was still Borders, when it was open, I'm walking out the Borders, and I'm going to the parking garage, and I hear this woman screaming. I mean, she's screaming at the top of her lungs, and I couldn't see her. So I start running toward where the screaming was, and these two guys jump in a car, and they just hauled ass out of there. And this chick jumped in the car, and she locked the door. And then I kind of stood far enough back because I didn't want to freak her out. Like, hey, I'm with them or whatever. I was like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. So I stood back a couple of feet, and I said, I'll wait here till you call the cops. And she called 911, and I'd gotten the license plate number. And so, I always have a pen in my pocket. So I wrote it down on the back of a business card. I go, here's the license plate number. If you need me, whatever, let me know.
Right,
yeah, but that shit worked, man. Because if she just did what they said, which I'm sure they were like typical, cliched crap. Get in the car, you won't get hurt, whatever. She'd have been, she'd have been chopped up and fed to the poor, right? So it's like you don't make these guys' job any easier. You yell your head off, and you yell, yeah. Yeah, but that alarm thing sounds great. But let me ask you something too, because I remember before, when I was living in LA, and you and me were involved in a small group of comedians, and we're kind of supporting each other and helping each other with material and that kind of stuff. And we'd hang out at your pool a little bit, and eat some lunch, and then kind of try to work on each other's jokes. And it was the most disparate group of people, because I was me, and then, a couple of other guys were who they were, and then, you had your material. But I remember distinctly your material at that time, because I watched some clips over the last few days on YouTube, because I hadn't seen you perform in a while. And
right.
your stuff kind of got a little edgier. Like before, you were kind of G-rated.
Yeah.
You were like, you're really, you're the cute girl with the pets and the dog, and you had all the pet stories. And then all of a sudden, you're like, you still have some of those, but it's just like there's like an edge to it now. It's like you're borderline PG-13, and
right.
Did the traveling lend to that? Like, or was that something you just kind of developed as you developed your comedy?
I think that I just got more. I mean, because I think that even though like I before transitioning into, well, I hope not even say transitioning, before discovering what I wish I would have discovered a million years ago, that stand up was what I was the thing that I was desperately searching for. I had performance experience. I did the baton thing and all the way through college. The like improv and stuff like that. But I think for me, in the early phases of stand up, it was just like transitioning into feeling comfortable that like me just being me was funny. Like, and that I didn't need to, change. It's like I can just tell this stuff how it is,
Right.
I mean, with like through like a skewed and funny lens or glasses. I don't know, whatever you want to put it through.
You stopped worrying about making it palatable?
Not even that, because I mean, I still do a lot of I do a ton of corporate stuff, and so I mean, I still do. I mean, I didn't want to rely on like any sort of like shock humor just in like by way of like language, so it was like, okay, well, what are people like? Okay, if I think that it's really super irritating that children can't pick up their feet when they're walking, I feel like everyone does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a thing that is not just making me mad. And I started just to look at like, okay, is this going to be like, if this is funny to me, if this is a hot button, I mean, how funny is that? Is my hot button issue is kids not picking up their feet when they walk, but just, instead of worrying about making a joke, trusting myself that my opinions and the feelings, even though they may be a little bit over the top about a specific thing that doesn't really matter, that probably other people feel the same way about it.
Sure.
And that took a little bit, and I don't think I really was able to grab onto that until I started to be on the road. Because my first tour, I was extremely worried, because it was like, well, if this joke works really well in California, if it works in California, is it gonna work in Nebraska? And
right.
The Nebraska people really like, and then I was like, people are people. Like, so
right.
if Steve in California also agrees with me that it's terrible when kids don't pick up their feet, Barbara in Omaha probably has a teenager that she can't stand,
right.
like type of thing. And just trusting that my opinions were not only valid, but agreeable.
Sure.
and it's been fun. And I catch it, like the stuff that people, and then that's where our writing comes in handy, whereas you have people who don't care about it, you want them to walk away being like, yeah, man, I hate it when people don't pick up their feet.
Sure.
Changing the world.
Well, but that's the thing, isn't it? Though, I mean, comedy's purpose, this is my opinion, though, but comedy's purpose is two things: to find a common ground, right? Because, like you said, if it doesn't work in Nebraska, it just or in LA, if it works in LA but not Nebraska, it just means it was not a good joke. And sometimes sometimes your audience, sometimes you do have a different. Like, I remember one time when I was in LA, and I'll never forget this, because I was doing a show when Formosa Cafe was still open, and this guy TK would do the Formosa, and I would probably do there once or twice a month. And so when I got there kind of late, whatever, and there was a couple of comedians that I'd seen go up before, and they didn't ever bomb, but they were bombing here, and I was like, I mean, bombing.
Oh, okay.
And and like me, they work blue, right? And with me, the point I always made to people was, because I remember I did a couple of shows. Hey, well, can you not cuss? I go, yeah, most of my shit's political. I don't have to tell I don't have to say the F word. I mean, and I'm not doing tit jokes. I'm just saying fuck because it sounds better. And then, but these guys.
Well, and it goes with like it flows with the style,
right?
Like with when you're being like it goes with it. Like I just don't like it. Sorry to interrupt, but
No.
I don't like it when it's like, oh, I'm just saying a bad word here because. For no reason.
Right.
Like it's got to. I feel like every word that you're taking the time to use like has to build.
It has to build. Absolutely.
It bums me out that you're not doing comedy.
If you're well, I might. I mean, I'm in Austin now, which is a whole nother hour, but it's an word town for comedy.
Right.
But no, that was the point. It was like I would sit there, if the word fit, if it was a good adjective, then fine. But you don't sit there and just throw it in every other word just for the sake of doing it. And these people didn't really either. So.
Yeah.
But I was just, but this one girl was about my age, but she looked like she was 25, and so she had these jokes about I'm this middle-aged girl and I'm divorced and da-da-da-da. And one of the jokes that she had used to kill, but it didn't kill here, was when these younger men would hit on her, and she's like, "Honey, I got abortions older than you," and that never failed. Okay, but all of a sudden this crowd wasn't digging it, and so I asked this guy, I go, "Hey, what the fuck's going on?" I mean, he goes, "Okay, you see that girl over there? There's another comedian," and he goes. Because it was like a bringer show, right? And so he goes, okay. She's a Mormon, and all her friends are here. And like 2/3 of that room was all Mormons. So I was like, okay. So I can do my same stuff. I bet you money if I don't cuss, they won't get pissy. And then the first thing I did, because my shtick used to always be, I'd walk up with a beer, and I'd find a table at the front, if it was like one of those small stages. And I go, "You don't mind? You don't mind, do you?" And I put my beer down. And so I walk up, and the first thing I see is a guy with 3 women. And I go, "Hey, look, you guys, the cast of Big Love is here." And everybody started howling. And I go, "Can I put my beer down? It's safe, right? Of course it's safe. It's right. You don't do beer, right?" And I had buy-in immediately. And so I did my entire set without swearing. It was the same fucking set, but without swearing. Right. And I ended up killing. And it was just one of the biggest lessons I ever had in my life. Know your audience, know where you're walking in. And, but most of the times, and then here's the thing though, but that joke worked with a bunch of Mormons. Those jokes worked with a bunch of Mormons. I did the same set without cussing, basically. So I could do that same set in Nebraska, right? And so totally. So your point is well taken, because that's the thing with a lot of folks is they think, "Oh, it's New York, the flyover states don't get it." It's like, well, if your jokes are that geographically specific, then you need to write better jokes.
Right. Well, or not go on the road.
Or not go on the road. Yeah, because it's like, or if you're cursed with telling dick jokes, well, then it's Don't go on the road. Yeah, don't go on the road. Don't go on the road, because no one needs to hear dick jokes. It's like, but that was the other thing I was going to ask you. So so you came out to L.A. to be a screenwriter, and you did go to school for it, and you graduated, right?
I did, yeah.
And so how did you get into comedy? What was that little impetus? Was it you shopped a couple screenplays, you got frustrated? What was that?
Well, it was just I graduated. I love writing. Like I love it. But it was, I don't know, I was like, but I graduated. I had this, this thesis that I thought was, like God's gift to the industry, which guess what? It wasn't. and so it was this weird thing. And like the program that I went to was at New York Film Academy, and it was like super extreme. Like it was like a master's degree in, I don't know, what felt like 2 months, but it was just like shy of 2 years. So it was like, okay, I need money. I need a job. No one is going to buy this. I feel like, okay, because I never get to talk about it anymore. My thesis was like, it was called Gold Lust. And it was like Treasure of the Sierra Madre meets Double Indemnity. You can see why I thought that. I know. I was like, I have a gold mine here. Like, this is literally about mining for gold.
with double indemnity, with like sex. It's like mining for gold with sex.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And like a great murder. I mean, like, I feel like Quentin Tarantino alone should have like bought the murder scene from me. Like, it was just, I don't know, but turns out like, it wasn't really. No. The murder scene is actually pretty good. But anyway, I'll toss that in, based on for the Oxygen movie. Include this murder, and then it's a good thriller.
That's funny.
And put a disclaimer in the bottom that 99% of this is not true.
Hey, that's good. That's why it's called fiction. That's okay.
Right. But yeah, so I did the thing. I think a lot of people that are new to this area too. I signed up at Central Casting. I was doing background all the time. I was stuffing my pockets with craft services, and then I ended up going to UCB because I was like, well, I don't know what to do. I'm not getting hired for any writing jobs, so I guess I'll do more school. Was kind of the, I don't know, it was like I was kind of grabbing at straws, and I was at UCB, and I was basically like done with the program, and my instructor at the time said, Aubree, your monologues are pretty good. Like, why don't you try an open mic? And I was like, oh, geez. So I went to Haha Cafe, and did you ever do stuff at Haha?
A bunch. I met some good friends. I made some good friends in comedy at the Haha. I mean, really did.
The Haha is great. Well, the Haha, for people who are not familiar with the Haha, like they basically have an open mic Monday through Friday,
yep.
And they will, like, for a fee, you can do 10 minutes.
Right.
If you've not gone to an open mic or are not a comedian, a new person for comedy should never do 10 minutes.
No.
Ever. No. I did the 10 minutes. I bombed so hard.
Well, no, hang on. It's not fair, though, because first of all, to clarify, an open mic is usually done at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, runs a couple of hours, and it's not with any human beings. It's all fucking bitter comedians checking their iPhone to see if their agent called them. And my formula was, if you had 2 laughs at an open mic, that equaled 10 real people. Mm-hmm. So if I can make 2 comedians laugh, okay, that equals 20 real people would laugh at that joke. And that formula...
You can make 2 comedians laugh. You should be headlining.
Yeah, never failed. It never failed. If I had 2 people laughing, that means 20 real people will laugh. And within 2 or 3...
20 real.
Yeah, seriously. It was almost like my little microcosm, Abe research at MIT bullshit. Like, me and Noam Chomsky hung out and figured this out. But it was like... But literally, that was my formula. And literally, I would go to perform a new joke, and especially if it wasn't like none of my friends came, and I was in front of a bunch of strangers, which was the best, and the joke worked. Yeah. I'm like, aha, that formula is not wrong. If 1 person laughs, that means
that's not wrong.
10 real people. 2 people laugh, 10. 20. 3 comedians.
I like it.
In a room of 50 comedians, I'd make 3 laugh. I would still come off thinking like I won, because in real life, that would be 30.
You won.
Yeah, I won. I made 3 guys laugh, so 30 guys would laugh in real life, and that never fails. But to be fair,
no, I like it. Well, I didn't really like know, you know what I mean? Because it was like really my first experience, like, other than watching like hour specials on like HBO and stuff like that. Right, you know what I mean? So it was like, oh, this is, and I mean, I tucked into my armpit the whole time.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
I looked down and basically was just like I had like I needed a neck brace. Like, I was tucked into my armpit and was like, and so I'm Aubree, and then like the first joke I wrote was, oh my gosh, it was, I don't even know, like it was just stupid. It was about, God, I'm trying to remember. It was like something about not liking Scarlett Johansson, but it was like this weird, stupid reversal thing because I like love her. And I think she's like super talented. I don't know what the concept was anymore. I should find that notebook because I still have it someplace. But yeah, it was, I don't know, it was just bad. But what happened afterwards was there were a bunch of people who were super nice to me because they knew I was new.
Right.
And it was nice. Like Avery McKinney, we ended up becoming like, we're like still friends and like we'll send each other stuff to look at.
Sure.
And he was like, great job. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was like, you got up there. That's the hard part. Come back again. And I did, and I don't know. That was it. Like I had done a really bad, I was like, that had to be hard for people to watch.
Mm. Yeah, but here's the thing. But it's an open mic, though.
I loved it.
Yeah, it's like open mic's like a workshop. You go in there accepting what it is. And that's one thing I don't like about Austin is they don't do open mics like we did in LA. It's like they do open mics out here at nighttime. They do it at like 9 o'clock at night. So like Cap City Comedy Club.
So you're there until like 3 a.m.
Yeah. So the Cap City Comedy Club, they'll have like on Sundays in the small room, they have this huge room that holds like 800 people, and then they have this smaller room that's about the size of the Ice House. That's their small room. And they'll do an open mic there on Sundays, and you sign up around 7:30, 8 o'clock. And there's a couple of other places that do open mics, but what I found out here, it's like a bunch of people being a big fish in a small pond. They think they want to do comedy, but they really don't, and they just really pal around with their friends. It's not like LA where you could go up anywhere. There's a bunch of promoters getting a bar or a club somewhere. You don't need the Laugh Factory. You don't need the Comedy Store, right? Like you can go to, like for example, Flappers is really generous with their. I mean, I did the main stage, I did the Yoo-Hoo Room. They didn't care, But and you can go up and find like a promoter, like a TK Madison or whoever, and they got 2 or 3 clubs a week that they're doing. So if not that club, then this club, and so whereas in Austin, it's a little tighter. You got the Velveeta Room, you got Cap City, and then you got a couple of bars. You got some places where some guy gets a little gumption and gets an open mic going. But it's not the amount of open mics, and they always do it at nighttime. So the weirdness is like you go. The cool part about it is real people show up because these people will invite their friends because they can't really get a gig anywhere else unless they're begging to open for somebody, which takes a million years. So they'll get their friends to show up, but then they do the douchebag move out here, which they never did in L.A. If I got out to an open mic early enough and I put my name down, I went up when I was supposed to go up, 9th, 10th, whatever, right, or 20th if I was late. Here, you get there early. This happened to me 8 or 9 times. After this happened, I was going, you know what? You guys are douchebags, and I'm done with this. And then I just got frustrated, and now I have a podcast. But I would literally get there about like say 7:30. Things were supposed to start at 9. The dude would show up around 8 o'clock. I'd fill out the little list. I'm 5th, right? And all of a sudden, I'm waiting to get called, and I go look at the list. I got crossed off, and I got bumped down to 27. And I'm going, hey, what happened? Oh, my buddy just got back from New York, man. He did a couple clubs out there, so I wanted to get him some time. I'm like, you're a little prick. You little fucking prick. You know what? You and your little pricky thing. So I got pissed off, and I was just like, And then I pulled that, and then I pulled that whole douchebag LA thing. You know the fuck I am from LA. God damn it! That whole thing, which makes friends and influences people really quick, right? So yeah. But the thing with open mics in LA, I thought they were more productive. At one point, I stopped doing them. Yeah. At one point, I stopped doing them because I had enough of a set where I could just work a new joke into the set. And I had more, and then I also had confidence of the delivery. Too. Like, you get more confidence in your delivery, right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I feel like with open mics, though, I mean, I feel like they're definitely, they're a huge, huge part of the process. Like, I go whenever I can. But, I mean, like, right now, I've kind of fallen off the open mic scene a bit because I'm getting ready to go back on the road. And, yeah, and, I mean, and so you're looking at, like, I need to it's like, I mean, it's endurance now. So it's like, okay, like I can go to an open mic, or what I really should do is probably just like stand in my RV and tell jokes for an hour so that like those muscles, I mean, I don't know, it's kind of, and I have from going from the girl who talked into her armpit, I mean, like I jumped and I'm crazy on stage. Like I made a joke, this great, he's super great. His name's Nathan Lucas. He's a photographer, and he'll go to one of the shows in Long Beach. It's Peter Marshall. He's a comedian. He's fantastic. And Nathan Lucas takes these great photos. And this round, like, I mean, like my stand-up comedy stance is like a half squat.
That's funny.
I'm like always like jumping around and stuff. And I'm like that. I'm doing like a straight hour of cardio when I'm on stage. And yeah, so it's like I can't work those muscles. So it's like finding a balance between like, training, basically like training for jumping around for an hour plus on stage, and then trying out like new shorter bits. But I agree with you. Like Flappers is great because Flappers is really the like my plate. Like that's like my always, no matter what, home club. Like I love that place. And they've always been so wonderful to me. Like just, I mean, kind of one of those, like the relationship that you like, that relationship is anytime I'm like, oh man, like boo hoo. I'm like, you know what I have that place, and that place is wonderful.
That place is home, man. No, seriously, that place is, and the other part, the other part about Flappers is they were really generous when headliners would come to town. So like 2 months before I moved out here to Austin, they get you on the email list, and Bill Burr came to town, and it was like, and they only charged the comedians $10. So me and my brother went and saw Bill Burr, and another couple of buddies of ours that did Flappers were there too, and then we knew the door guy, and he let us stay for the second show. which was insane.
Yeah.
And so for 10, I mean, of course we bought beer and food and whatever, but still, it was just like for $10. Everyone was paying like $50 to get in. We paid like 10. I mean, that's the kind of that's kind of mensch move that they would do that no one in LA does, and that it's like. You know, and they made it easy to audition. It wasn't like this ridiculous labyrinthine process to audition. And if you made the cut, you got the call. And if you didn't, you didn't, right? And thankfully,
right. And you could come back.
Yeah,
there isn't that like
it wasn't.
You have to wait 16 years and 2 days and 3 minutes.
Right, right.
And come back next week.
Yeah, and they come back next week. Oh, you didn't make this cut. Come back next week. And you get your shit together and go back a month later and you get it. And thankfully, the first time I went up, it got my confidence going because they called me right away. And then they had a competition and I won it. And I made like I color Xerox the check because I was going to cash the check. It was like my first $100 I made in comedy. I was like, oh my god,
comedy.
I've arrived.
I made my first. It was a New Year's Eve show. Was the first comedy money I ever made was at Flappers.
Yeah,
too.
100%. But you're making and don't be modest either because I mean you're obviously you're not Bill Burr or Chris Rock yet, but or Liza Schlesinger. But
what do you mean?
Well,
what do you mean?
Yet. The key word is yet. Yeah. No, but you're making a living though. You're making more than a living, aren't you? I mean, you're doing okay.
Yeah. This is my full time. I do stand up full time, so I do feel like I was just actually talking about this. It's weird with the entertainment industry, and I'm sure like it's like the variety of stages of like when you made it, like you know what I'm saying? Because I had a guy in the laundry room the other day, and he said, hey, I said I was a comedian, and he was like, oh, well, have you made it yet? And that's like such a weighted question because it's like, I'm a full-time comedian that lives in her RV with her awesome dog and cat. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But are there goals? Do I want a Netflix special? Obviously.
Sure.
And if Netflix won't call me back, I will not discriminate. I'm happy to be on Facebook Watch. Any of them. I'll take it.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening from any of those companies, I'm ready.
Hulu, Netflix. Yeah, if you're listening. She's telegenic and she's funny.
Facebook. Facebook Watch, any of them. I'll improv the whole hour. If that's what you want, I'm good. I got it. Whatever you want.
Your set's up to an hour now, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, sometimes for corporate events, I'll have to go like 75 to 9. I did a 90-minute set. That's what I was talking about. I gotta exercise for these marathons. But yeah, I did 90 minutes. I wouldn't recommend it. It was a long. I was like tired for 3 days after.
Sure.
After that, but yeah. But the guy I'd mentioned, like the made it thing. It's a tough thing for the entertainment industry and just I think any industry. But I said, well, yeah, I'm doing this and it's pretty great and I'm excited about X, Y, and Z. And he said, well, are you on Sirius FM? And like so everybody so that's just kind of my PSA for the day, I guess, or for the year or forever, is that everybody, like, you've made it. You just have to look at what is around you.
Well, and then
the goals that you've.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Sirius XM. I mean, that's.
Yeah, but and not to interrupt you, but the entertainment industry is the only industry where someone making $100,000 a year is looked at as a loser. True story. I mean, I was working in the film business about 20 years ago, and we had a deal at Sony for a little while, and this and that and the other, and it kind of fell apart. But not before I helped a couple friends, get hot. Mm-hmm. God bless them. But long story short, I mean, if you weren't banging if you weren't banging like $1 million a year, you're a loser. And you're sitting there going, gee, anywhere else in LA, by the way, in any other industry, if you're doing 100, 150, 200 grand, you're not a loser. But in the film business, it's like, oh, you just have a house? Okay, whatever. And like just shit like that, you're going, what a dick move. It's like, but and they look at you like, well, have you made it? It's like, look, you go to a goddamn cubicle and hate your life 9 to 5, and you think of ways of killing your boss and walking into your office space with an AR-15 and shooting everybody in sight because you hate them. And I'm happy with my pets, and I'm doing comedy traveling the country. I don't know. I think I made it.
Right. Well, I really wish that. I mean, and it's like such this is a large scale wish that I have. I wish that we would just as people in general, everywhere, change our view on what it means to me. Does your podcast make you happy?
Yes.
Then yes, you made it.
It's cheaper than therapy.
Right? Yeah. I mean, so these are things like, I don't know. I saw it was an article that I read. I wish I remember because I would quote who did it, who wrote it. But it was basically saying, that as people we're like, oh, are you married? Do you have a job? And like life is like a checklist, where in reality it should be like, are you happy? Are you happy?
Yeah.
Yes. Then you won.
Bingo.
if more of the things you're doing in your life make you happy than not, you've made it.
Right.
And I don't know, so it's weird. I did try to educate the guy in the laundry room, and I think he thinks I'm crazy.
Whatever, man. And he's got no shot, by the way. It's like, hey, I'm traveling. I got to go, baby. Sorry.
Yep, gotta go. Bye.
Hey, so let me ask you a question.
Don't take my clothes out of the dryer this time, sir.
He was inhaling.
I will be back in 45 minutes. I set my alarm.
He was inhaling my jeans. I don't know what that meant, but it was very strange. So now that you're actually performing, you got some real bona fides last few years. Are you getting paid more in LA, or is LA just a way to kind of showcase and then be exotic in the Midwest? I mean, how does that strategy work for you now?
You know, there is like no rhyme nor reason on like what pays well and what does not pay well. I think so. I've gotten to a point where I can do a show that's for a small, say like 100 people, and make more on that show than a show that has, seating for 500 people.
Right.
So I've gotten to the point where I've got my little, I have my contract with my writer, and I mean it's. I can't even answer that question.
Okay.
Because sometimes, no, I mean, because there's no, I mean, I feel, and that's one of the beauties from, at least so far for me, where I have been with basically creating these tours and trying to explore the country, is that, comedy club is very specific. It's like you're headlining on Saturday night, this is what you're making.
Right.
And that's that. And then you take it and you're like, cool, thanks for the stage time. I had a great time. And you're also getting, I mean, when you're performing at a club, you're getting that, gosh, I can't think of the word, but I mean, you're
exposure.
getting their website, your name's on it, like
Exposure.
That type of stuff. Yeah, exposure, which is great. But then like on the road, you'll have the, okay, well, like maybe it's paying you more than the club, but maybe this particular venue doesn't have, like, you're ending up putting up more work because they normally don't have a comedian. So then you're having to run the press circuit, and you're putting in more effort for that pay. But then at the end of the day, it's just very hard to say, well, this made more than because it's just so, it's kind of a weird subjective thing.
Well,
and then some of the shows that I'll just be like, you know what, you don't have the budget, I'll do it for free, like for dog stuff or for like, VFW or things like that. Those sometimes are my favorite shows.
Well, I mean, and then I've seen.
I got paid and happy.
And now I'm fulfilled. No, but on your YouTube, because I looked up your YouTube last few days, and you got a bunch of like news appearances and stuff. But obviously, it's local news. But did you set that up, or did the comedy club help you set those things up?
So it's 50-50. So I will normally. So sometimes they'll be like, hey, do you mind like popping on the local radio station? I'll be like, not at all, because obviously I do enjoy the sound of my voice.
Sure.
and doing like, I love doing press stuff. Again, when you go like and do press things, like you find out stuff about the area that you're in that you didn't know about, because they're like plugging an like a concert or like a Jazz on the Green or whatever. But yeah, so sometimes I set them up, sometimes they set them up. It's, I don't know. I can honestly say that I don't think I've had the same experience ever with any show.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Obviously, you're not going to. You're not going to. You're just not going to.
Yeah.
And I don't know if.
And then I'll usually
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like when I'm booking something, I'll usually, after we've like set a date and we've dealt with all of that, because I hate dealing with the money stuff. But after that's been handled, then that's my next question. Like, okay, for like promoting the show, like what are you guys doing, so that I can plan what I'm going to do. And then it just keeps it like super easy and streamlined, because we're already in the conversation, like doing the date and the this and the that. And, and then it's great, because then you can just go, okay, cool. And then, if they're going to set it up, then all I have to worry about is, I put it in my calendar to post on social media, like when it gets a little bit closer. And if they're not able, if they don't have, because I mean, some of these venues, like they're amazing venues, but they just don't have the staff to take the time to, run around like promoting this like one-time comedian thing.
Right. Well, and then especially if they're not a comedy venue, right? They're just a
right.
But do you find more cooperation promotion-wise with the comedy venues?
I think that as long as like the line of communication is open, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I know there's been a few situations where, like a venue or on my side of it, I've been like, oh yeah, no problem. I should be able to knock out this, and this, and then I can't knock out this, and this. And I mean, and that's come like, both sides where it's like, well, this shouldn't be that big of a deal. I'll do a radio spot and then there's like a natural disaster and then like there's been no promotion for a show, and that happens. But I mean, yeah, it's really just about communicating. And I think that's something that was a big learning curve for me in the beginning, because I came up in comedy clubs, and comedy clubs out here, it's like, we've got our website, we've got this, we're going to put it on our social media. Here's a poster, use it, tag us, and so like everything's very straightforward. So then when I started doing the road, I was like, okay, these are things that need to be discussed, because I'm going, well, why aren't they promoting this show? And they're going, why isn't she promoting this show? And yeah, so now it's just part of the conversation.
Let me piggyback really quick. Why do you hate the money stuff?
Oh, it's just awkward talking about money. I mean, I'd rather just talk about the comedy and like setting up the dates. I don't know. I think it's because at the end of the day, I would do comedy for cookies, like legit.
Yeah, don't tell them that.
Except Netflix, like, I mean, I can't pay my bills with cookies, which would be great. Like, if
we could.
When can I live in that world? I'll give you half of an Oreo. I'd like water for the rest of the month.
I'll give you half an Oreo for a salad today. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, I always get fascinated when people make that statement to me, because it's one of the shortest questions in the entire process to me. My day job involves asking people for money, and because I'm in sales, and so I mean, I feel like I made the presentation, and my whole thing is like, okay, you ready to get going? That's it, and we already know how much it's going to be, whatever. So I always ask when people have that, when I hear that, because it's like you put in the hours, you deserve to ask for the money. You done the time.
You do,
yeah.
Right. There's a value. I mean, there's a value to what I'm providing. I mean, like, so, and I'm aware of the value, but I don't know. It's just a tough. I don't know. It's awkward for me, and I mean, and that's something where I prefer, because I do have management and stuff, so I prefer it when that's handled on.
Right.
And like, you deal with that, and then kick them over. And then I'll talk about the fun stuff.
So
the press and
right. You go on some top 40 station and just talk about your regimen. Your skin looks so good for being in a smoky club in the Midwest. Like, how do you keep it going? But like, so okay, let's just, hypothetical. Like, you're not even too hypothetical, because you'd be surprised, but how quick this can come. But like, just say for example, you get the Netflix special, and your career takes off in a whole nother direction. Are you going to still stay on the road in an RV? Are you going to start just traditional touring? What do you think would change if you got like a Hulu or a Netflix deal?
I don't think it would change. I mean, I don't think it would change anything. I mean, I would have more. I'd have money to put in the savings account.
Sure.
but I don't think, because I really love what I'm doing. So like having an opportunity like a Netflix special or Hulu special or Amazon or Facebook Watch or whichever ones I'm not thinking about, just tossing that out there again, guys, in the universe. But I don't know. I love this lifestyle, and I feel like this is the right lifestyle for me. Right. And I like I was talking about before, I really do want to perform, take the RV to all 48 and explore and do the Canadian adventure. So I mean, really it doesn't change lifestyle at all.
Okay. And I saw a couple clips where you mentioned a special. Are you taping a special? Is it being edited, or what's up with that?
Yeah, so I did. I did a run. I recorded an hour last summer, and yeah, and I mean it was kind of a labor of love. It's getting shopped around. You know, couple things. It was a big learning. It was a huge learning experience. A couple things I if I could go back in time, that I would have done a little bit differently. But yeah, I mean it exists. We'll see what happens, and you know, if nothing happens, I'll record again.
Very cool. No, hey, listen, congratulations on everything. Yeah. And you know, we're kind of getting close on time. At the end of the it goes by fast, doesn't it? I told you it would.
It does. It really does.
So let's play a little.
Well, you're a wonderful conversationalist.
Oh, I'm gonna cry. That's so good. Nice of you to say. But let's play a little word association. Littering.
But I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
I said, let's play a little word association. Littering.
Ugh. Can that be the word? Ugh.
Yeah. Okay, that can be a word.
Okay.
Fuck's a word, too,
okay.
So knock yourself out. Whatever you want to do.
Okay. I'm sick with my gut. And if we were on video, you would have seen my whole body collapse, right. And I'm crying in a pile on the floor.
I mean, so go with it. Like, you know, death penalty. I mean, I think $1,000 fine is awesome. But you know, so what are your thoughts on it?
What I feel like with littering, I feel like, I don't know, we could probably find somewhere in between the death penalty and the $1,000 fine. I feel like instead of punishment, I was just talking about this with a friend the other day that in other countries, there's more of an incentive for not littering and for recycling. Right. And I think that, it's a major problem. And I'm seeing it so much, like, it's like it was a thing that was a problem, and then being on the road, mm-hmm. it's devastating. Sure. Just the amount of litter, the amount of waste. And there are all these, you know, different theories about, well, even if I recycle, you know, if there isn't space for the recycled material, then it's still going in the ocean anyway, so I'm not going to recycle anymore. And it's like, that's not really the right attitude to have. And I mean, let's take it the next level. Let's not get the thing. I mean, there's a ton of different options that, like, for example, this is small scale, but I use like bar shampoo and conditioner. And it's weird at first because you're washing your hair with basically a bar of soap, and that's not normal because that's not what we grew up with. But it's actually, like, after the first couple washes, you're like, wow, this actually is pretty cool. You're saving money mm-hmm. because there's a ton of liquid added to your shampoo and conditioner, and for like I believe the bar shampoo that I'm using, it basically is equivalent to 3 plastic bottles of shampoo. So that's 3 plastic bottles that aren't being consumed because I'm not consuming them. You know, so it's like that little stuff. So, I mean, I feel like if all of us kind of just adopt, or like the reusable bags, like that's the easiest thing ever. Sure. Like, just keep it in your car. Right. And I mean, and there's still to this day, I've been using, I mean, I was like on board immediately with the reusable bag. And still, like the other day I went grocery shopping, still forgot the bags in the car, and just walked out with all my groceries in the cart. You know, and I mean, I know that the cashier was like, this girl, she doesn't have any bags in her car. And whatever, the car's like a bag too, you know? Yeah. But you can, you know, I mean, so there's just these like little, I mean, I feel like the easiest way, if you're worried about anything, just don't get the plastic bag, don't get the plastic bottle. I mean, there's tons of new, I haven't started using it yet, but there's a new toothpaste that just came out. It's called Bite. And basically it's these little tiny like toothpaste capsules that, so that's there's no toothpaste, whatever tube. And I mean, I feel like that's going to save marriages because everybody always gripes about, you know, like the one person squeezes from the middle and now there's no tube to squeeze. So not only are you saving the world from like a plastic tube, you're saving your marriage.
Yeah, there you go. Marriage counseling made easy. Yes. Hey, so real quick in wrapping up, where are you performing next? What's going on?
So I'm still in Los Angeles for a little bit. I'm actually in at JR's Comedy Club tonight. Okay. And then I've got I'm March 19th at I'm closing out the Yoo-Hoo Room at Flappers. Okay. I'm going to be in Thousand Palms the weekend of March 21st and Dog Cafe on March 29th in LA.
Nice.
Then I'm on the road.
On the road.
Albuquerque, Texas, and beyond.
Nice. Well, listen, Aubree, congratulations on everything, and thank you for coming on the show and gracing us with your presence.
Thank you.
And folks,
thank you for having me.
Again, we talked a while ago. I'm just glad we finally did it. Folks, we're wrapping up, and again, this is you can find us on Patreon.com/The Bitter Truth. You can find us on Libsyn and Stitchers and iTunes and everything else that I mentioned. And if you want to be a bitter pill, visit Patreon.com/The Bitter Truth. You can be a bitter pill there for a mere $2. And again, guys, we kept it a little light today, but if some of this stuff made you uncomfortable, it's supposed to. So sleep tight.